Hello, dear viewers. Today I want to take you through the fascinating story of the Mongol Empire, one of the most formidable and impressive empires in history. This empire rose from a nomadic people to become a power that conquered much of Asia and changed world history. Led by a charismatic leader called Genghis Khan, the Mongols displayed incredible military skill and discipline. Armies of mounted archers enabled them to expand their empire rapidly, striking fear into their opponents. Genghis Khan was not only a warrior leader but also a wise ruler. He established a system of laws called the Code, which ensured order and justice in the empire. By protecting trade routes and encouraging communication between different cultures, the Mongols also contributed to the development of global trade. The influence of the Mongol Empire was felt not only in political and military fields, but also in fields such as science, art, and literature. The Mongols made significant advances in fields such as mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. They also produced original works of art such as poetry, music, and painting. Unfortunately, this glorious empire did not last forever. Over time, internal conflicts and rebellions weakened the empire, and it fell apart in the 14th century. The legacy of the Mongol Empire is still felt today. Mongol culture and traditions live on in many parts of Asia. The history of the Mongols offers us a valuable lesson in the importance of leadership, discipline, and courage. Are you ready to join this exciting journey? Get ready to discover the mysteries of the Mongol Empire and turn this unforgettable page of history together. Dear viewers, before diving into the story of the Mongol Empire, let's take a look at the birth of Genghis Khan, the charismatic leader who laid the foundations of this empire. The year 1162. On the banks of the Anan River in Mongolia, in the tents of the Borsigan, a nomadic tribe, a baby named Temujin was born. This baby was no ordinary baby. His destiny would transform him from the leader of a nomadic tribe into the founder of an empire that shook the whole of Asia. The land where Temujin was born was a geography of harsh conditions. The Mongols led a nomadic lifestyle, hunting and herding livestock on horseback. Their lives were full of hardships, but these hardships also made them strong and resilient. Temujin's childhood was filled with poverty and struggle. When he was only 9 years old, his father Yesuji was killed by a hostile tribe. His family and tribe were subjected to attacks from other tribes, and Temujin had to fight a tough struggle for survival. However, Temujin was a determined boy who did not give up and overcame every challenge. During his childhood, he stood out for his leadership qualities and charisma. Even while playing games with other children in the tribe, he displayed a natural leadership ability. Over the years, Temujin gained respect within the tribe for his courage and skills. He gathered a group of loyal followers and became involved in the tribe's leadership struggle. Defeating his rivals one by one, he succeeded in uniting the Mongol tribes in 1206 and took the title of Khagan. Temujin's becoming Khan marked the beginning of a new era for the Mongols. This charismatic leader turned the Mongols into a disciplined and powerful army. An army of mounted archers terrorized their opponents with invincible power. Temujin's ambitions were not limited to Mongolia. He dreamed of going beyond a nomadic tribe, conquering all of Asia, and building the largest empire in the world. In pursuit of this dream, he embarked on an incredible campaign of conquest. Dear viewers, even though the Mongol tribes were united after Temujin took the title of Khagan, this unity was not completely solid. There was still rivalry and strife among the Mongol tribes. For Temujin to be recognized as Khagan, he had to eliminate these rivalries and take over the leadership of all the tribes. Temujin began to use his intelligence, courage, and leadership qualities to achieve this goal. He formed alliances with tribal leaders, persuaded some tribes through diplomacy, and defeated others through war. Forming an army loyal to him, he started to defeat his rivals one by one. One of Temujin's biggest rivals was Targatai, the leader of the Taishut tribe. Targatai was a strong warrior and an experienced leader. He fought against Temujin many times, but was defeated each time. In the end, Targatai's tribe disbanded, and he himself had to flee. Another important opponent of Temujin was Toril, the leader of the Merkit tribe. Toril refused to accept Temujin's authority and prepared to fight against him. The two armies met on the banks of the Kalka River. After a long and bloody battle, Temujin's army was victorious. Toril and his tribe were also defeated and dispersed. Temujin's defeat of his rivals gave him complete control over the Mongol tribes. He was now the sole leader and Khan of all Mongols. This victory was an important step towards the establishment of the Mongol Empire. But Temujin's difficulties were not over. He had to protect the newly established empire against internal and external threats. There was still unrest among the tribes, and neighboring countries were worried about the power of the Mongols. Temujin showed strong leadership even against these threats. He established a system of laws called the Code, which ensured order and justice in the empire. By building a strong army, he deterred neighboring countries and managed to protect the Mongols' territories. Temujin's rise within his tribe and defeat of his rivals in the 1170s was critical to the establishment of the Mongol Empire. This story is an inspiring example of how important perseverance, courage, and leadership qualities are. Dear viewers, by the end of the 1170s, Temujin had become a major power among the Mongol tribes. By defeating many tribes and forging alliances, he controlled most of Mongolia. He was now very close to his goal of becoming the sole leader of all Mongols. However, Temujin needed one more important step to achieve this goal. He had to end centuries of division and strife among the Mongol tribes and unite all tribes under a single flag. To this end, Temujin summoned the leaders of the Mongol tribes to a congress in 1180. This assembly is one of the most important turning points in Mongol history. At the assembly, it was decided that Temujin would take the title of Khagan and the Mongol Empire would be officially established. The title Khagan means universal ruler in Mongolian. This title gave Temujin absolute authority over all Mongols. He was no longer just a tribal leader, but the Khan of all Mongols. The acceptance of Temujin as Khagan caused great enthusiasm among the Mongol tribes. Tribal leaders declared their allegiance and loyalty to the Khan. The Mongols were finally united. But Temujin's work was not finished. He had to take important steps to put the newly established empire on a solid foundation. He established order and justice in the empire by creating a legal system called the law. By building a strong army, he deterred neighboring countries and managed to protect the Mongol lands. Dear viewers, with the establishment of the Mongol Empire, Temujin took the title of Khagan and became the leader of all Mongols. He had risen from a nomadic tribe to become the founder of one of the most powerful empires in Asia. However, Temujin's victories did not bring peace and tranquility to the Mongol lands. The newly established empire faced internal strife and rebellions. In particular, Temujin's old rivals and tribal leaders were unwilling to submit to his absolute authority. In 1202, Jamukha, one of Temujin's biggest rivals, gathered the Mongol tribes and started a rebellion against Temujin. This rebellion is known in Mongolian history as the Great Mongolian Civil War. Two powerful armies faced each other in the vast steppes of Mongolia. The battles were long and bloody. Temujin's army was made up of disciplined and experienced soldiers. The army of horse archers turned the tide of the battle in Temujin's favor by terrorizing his opponents. In the end, Jamukha and other rebel leaders were defeated and had to flee. With this victory, Temujin eliminated all his rivals in the Mongol lands and consolidated his absolute authority. However, Temujin had no mercy. He took harsh measures to punish the tribes who participated in the rebellion. He executed many tribal leaders and disbanded the tribes. This event is known in Mongol history as the Bloody Purge. Temujin's victory in the civil war and the defeat of his rivals was critical to the establishment of the Mongol Empire on a solid foundation. Dear viewers, with the end of the Mongol Civil War, Temujin had finally managed to unite all the Mongol tribes. He was no longer the leader of a nomadic tribe, but the founder of an empire ready to shake the whole of Asia. In 1206, the leaders of the Mongol tribes came together once again. This historic assembly took place on the banks of the Anan River. The purpose of the assembly was to formally unite the Mongol tribes and declare the creation of the new state. At the assembly, Temujin was confirmed as the sole leader and Khan of all Mongols. This title gave him absolute authority over all Mongols. He would no longer be called just Temujin, but Genghis Khan. This name meant universal ruler and made Genghis Khan's ambitions and goals clear. The proclamation of Genghis Khan as Khan was an important turning point not only in Mongolian history, but also in world history. It heralded the birth of a new empire and the rise of a power that would change the political map of Asia forever. Genghis Khan was not only a charismatic leader, but also a wise ruler and a skilled soldier. He established a system of laws called the Code, ensuring order and justice in the empire. By building a strong army, he deterred neighboring countries and managed to protect the Mongols' territory. Under Genghis Khan's leadership, the Mongols embarked on an incredible campaign of conquest. They soon conquered all of Central Asia and began raiding neighboring countries. Genghis Khan's army, with its army of mounted archers and disciplined battle tactics, became an invincible force against its opponents. Genghis Khan's conquests not only expanded the borders of the Mongol Empire, but also opened trade routes and encouraged communication between different cultures. Genghis Khan allowed different religions and languages to live freely in the empire, resulting in a rich cultural mosaic. Dear viewers, with the establishment of the Mongol Empire, Genghis Khan set his sights on neighboring countries and started making plans for new conquests. His target was China, one of the largest and richest empires in the world. China's rich lands and treasures attracted Genghis Khan's attention. In 1209, Genghis Khan launched his first expedition to China. Setting out with a powerful army, the Mongols crossed the Great Wall and entered North China. The Chinese army could not resist the disciplined and experienced soldiers of the Mongols and was soon defeated. The Mongols sacked cities and massacred many people. Genghis Khan's army gained a reputation for ruthlessness and spread fear in neighboring countries. By 1215, the Mongols had conquered most of northern China. The Chinese emperor was helpless in the face of the Mongols and was forced to sign a peace treaty. This agreement allowed him to pay the Mongols a large indemnity and to station troops in northern China. Although Genghis Khan did not succeed in conquering China completely, with this campaign he expanded the borders of his empire and established dominance over neighboring countries. Our story takes place under the smoky skies of the 13th century, on the golden sands of the Silk Roads. The Khwarezm-Shahs were one of the most powerful and richest states in Central Asia at that time. Its Shah, Al-Adin Muhammad, lived in peace and prosperity in his palace. But a twist of fate was preparing to throw him in front of the Mongol storm. Like a whirlwind from the east, Genghis Khan's massive army landed on Khwarezm-Shah land. A hail of arrows from horse archers razed cities to the ground, while swords fed on blood. With hands trembling with fear, Al-Adin Muhammad tried to resist his army. But in the face of the Mongols' battle prowess and ruthlessness, the Khwarezm-Shah's army collapsed like a tower of sand. Ancient cities like Samarkand, Bukhara, Merv and Nishapur were subjected to the fury of the Mongol army. Innocent people were massacred, riches were looted, historical artifacts were destroyed. Central Asia's gardens of paradise were suddenly transformed into hell. Al-Adin Muhammad sought refuge in the cold waters of the Caspian Sea to escape the wrath of the Mongols. But Mongol spies were watching him. Al-Adin Muhammad was captured while hiding on an island and sentenced to a life of captivity. Even in captivity, Al-Adin Muhammad did not lose his pride and refused to submit to Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan became enraged and poisoned Al-Adin Muhammad by putting him in a silver cage. This was the tragic end of the last ruler of the Khwarezm-Shahs. The Mongols had taken control of Central Asia, but this victory came at a heavy price. Thousands of lives were lost, cities razed to the ground, and ancient cultures threatened with extinction. The bloody shadow of Genghis Khan lingered over Central Asia for many years. The Mongol conquest was a turning point for the region, and these tragic events are a black mark on the history of Central Asia. Now we are traveling along the dusty roads of the 13th century, among the magnificent mountains of the Caucasus. Genghis Khan had set his sights on the west after his bloody campaign across Central Asia. The craggy mountains of the Caucasus and the vast plains of Europe would be the new prey of the Mongol army. In 1222, Genghis Khan led his massive army westward. A hail of arrows from horse archers pierced the sky. Swords and spears were ready to feed on blood. Genghis Khan's goal was to seize the strategic position of the Caucasus and control the trade routes to Europe. This campaign would not be easy for the Mongols. The mountainous terrain and brave peoples of the Caucasus were ready to resist the Mongol army. The Mongols quickly conquered Georgia and Azerbaijan and advanced into the heart of the Caucasus. The city of Tbilisi was besieged and heroically defended. But in the face of Mongol ruthlessness, the city fell and was sacked. Genghis Khan's fury struck fear in the Caucasus. But the Mongols found it difficult when confronted with the warlike peoples of the north of the Caucasus, such as the Alans and Lezgis. These peoples tried to wear them down by waging guerrilla warfare against the Mongols in the mountainous terrain. Genghis Khan was enraged by this resistance. The Mongols ruthlessly plundered Alan and Lezgi lands and massacred many people. These atrocities aroused deep hatred and resentment against the Mongols among the peoples of the Caucasus. After conquering the Caucasus, Genghis Khan continued his march towards Europe. He crossed the Volga River into Russia and captured many cities. The city of Kiev was besieged and heroically defended. But against the numerical superiority of the Mongols, the city fell and was sacked. Genghis Khan's anger extended to Europe. But the approaching cold winter and the harsh geography of Russia forced the Mongols to retreat. Genghis Khan had returned victorious from his westward campaign. He had conquered the Caucasus and controlled the trade routes to Europe. This campaign expanded the borders of the Mongol Empire and further cemented Genghis Khan's reputation. Dear viewers, after the bloody Mongol campaign in the Caucasus, Genghis Khan set his sights on Europe. The banks of the Danube and the cold waters of the Black Sea would be the new prey of the Mongol army. In 1223, Genghis Khan led his massive army on a campaign into Europe. A hail of arrows from horse archers pierced the sky. Swords and spears were ready to feed on blood. Genghis Khan's goal was to conquer the rich lands of Europe and expand the Mongol Empire westwards. This campaign would not be easy for the Mongols. Europe's powerful states and brave knights were ready to resist the Mongol army. The Mongols crossed the Volga River and entered the territory of the Polovtses. The Polovtses were a people allied with the Mongols. But Genghis Khan also accused the Polovtses of treason and massacred them mercilessly. This atrocity showed other peoples in Europe how cruel and dangerous the Mongols were. After conquering the lands of the Polovtses, the Mongols marched towards the Kingdom of Hungary. King Bela II of Hungary gathered an army against the Mongol threat and tried to stop them. But the Hungarian army was defeated by the Mongols' numerical superiority and mastery of warfare. The Mongols laid siege to Budapest, the capital of Hungary. The city was heroically defended. But in the face of the Mongols' siege tactics and brutal attacks, Budapest fell and was sacked. Genghis Khan's rage was sweeping across Europe. After conquering Hungary, the Mongols continued their westward march. In campaigns through Austria and Poland, they captured many cities and terrorized Europe. But Genghis Khan's army was exhausted by the approaching cold winter and the long campaigns. European resistance and the Mongols' logistical difficulties prevented them from advancing further. In 1224, Genghis Khan decided to end the European campaign and withdrew his army eastward. Although Genghis Khan did not succeed in conquering Europe, this campaign demonstrated the power and authority of the Mongol Empire to the world and instilled fear of the Mongols in Europe. Dear viewers, we will now move on to the end of the legendary story of Genghis Khan, the founder of the Mongol Empire and one of the most important conquerors in world history, to the year 1227, and the turning point that year marked for the empire and world history. The year is 1227. Genghis Khan is returning from his last campaign against the Tangut Empire when, as fate would have it, he falls ill. The illness soon turns fatal, and on a cold day in August, Genghis Khan passes away. Genghis Khan's death caused great mourning and uncertainty not only in the Mongol Empire but also in the history of the world. In his will, the legendary ruler decreed that the empire should pass to his son Ögedei Kagan. However, this will cause discontent among some groups within the empire. Now I will tell you about one of the bloody conquests of the Mongol Empire, the bloody ice conquest of Russia and the founding of the Golden Horde Khanate. Our story takes place in the cold steppes of the 13th century, on the snow-covered plains of Russia. The year was 1235. Genghis Khan's grandson Batu Khan, on the orders of Ögedei Khan, led a huge Mongol army on a westward expedition. Their goal was to conquer Europe and expand the borders of the Mongol Empire. But this campaign would not be easy. The Russian principalities, with their brave warriors and cold climate, were ready to stop the Mongol advance. As soon as Batu Khan and his army entered Russian territory, they began to raze cities to the ground and massacre peoples. The Mongols' rain of arrows pierced the sky. Their swords and spears were ready to feed on blood. One by one, the Russian principalities began to fall under the relentless Mongol onslaught. In 1237, Batu Khan captured important Russian cities like Vladimir and Suzdal. The Russian princes tried to unite, but they were unable to resist the Mongols' numerical superiority and mastery of warfare. In 1240, Batu Khan laid siege to the city of Kiev. Kiev was the most important city and religious center of Russia at that time. Heroically defended, it fell and was looted by the Mongol siege tactics and brutal attacks. The fall of Kiev meant the breaking of the spirit of Russia. With the fall of Kiev, the conquest of Russia was complete. The Mongols took complete control of the Russian lands and established the Golden Horde Khanate. Batu Khan became the first ruler of the Golden Horde Khanate. The Golden Horde Khanate included most of Russia, Ukraine, the Caucasus, and Eastern Europe. It would rule Russia for 250 years and leave a deep mark on Russian history. The year 1241. Ögedei, the great Khan of the Mongol Empire, died. This unexpected death caused great mourning and uncertainty in the empire. In his will, Ögedei had decreed that the throne should pass to his son Gayuk. However, this will cause discontent among some groups within the empire. After Ögedei's death, the Mongol Empire was plunged into a struggle for the throne. Different dynasties and factions began to fight each other for power. These struggles weakened the empire and undermined the sense of unity. The strongest contenders for the throne were Gayuk, the son of Ögedei, and Mongol Khan, the son of his brother Tolui. The two brothers fought for the throne for a long time. In this struggle, Gayuk was elected as the great Khan at the Mongol Congress. But Gayuk's reign was short-lived. In 1246, Gayuk died by poisoning. After Gayuk's death, the struggle for the throne intensified. Mongol Khan won a victory over Gayuk's sons and was elected as the great Khan at the Mongol Congress in 1260. Mongol Khan's reign brought some stability to the Mongol Empire. But the empire had already lost its former strength and unity. In the middle of 1253, in the midst of the turmoil we have just mentioned, a Mongolian Khan gathered his army and started heading west. Yes, that Mongol was Hulagu Khan himself. I will tell the story of Hulagu Khan's western campaigns that destroyed Iran. Our story will take place in the middle of the 13th century, when the Abbasid Caliphate was in its last days and the shadow of the Mongols covered the entire Middle East. The year is 1253. Mongol Khan, the great Khan of the Mongol Empire, decides to send his uncle Hulagu Khan on an expedition to the west. The goal of this expedition was to conquer the Abbasid Caliphate and annex Iran to the Mongol Empire. Hulagu Khan accepted this difficult and dangerous task and began to assemble a huge army. Hulagu Khan's army was equipped with the most fearsome weapons of the Mongols: horse archers, swordsmen, and siege engines. This army was ready to raze any city in its path. Hulagu Khan's army began to march westward. Many cities surrendered along the way, but some cities offered heroic resistance. One of these cities was Alamut Castle. Alamut Castle was the center of the Ismaili sect and an important obstacle for the Mongols. Hulagu Khan besieged Alamut Castle and tried to capture it for a long time. In the end, the Ismailis surrendered, unable to withstand the starvation, and their fortress was destroyed by the Mongols. And on a cold and gloomy winter day in 1258, we arrive in front of the walls of Baghdad. The city is besieged by the huge army of the Mongols and has lost its last hopes. Al-Mustasam Billah, the last caliph of the Abbasid Caliphate, is waiting in his palace with anxiety and fear. The Mongol army, led by Hulagu Khan, laid siege to Baghdad for months. The city walls were heavily bombarded by the Mongol siege engines. The people were suffering from hunger and disease. With each passing day, hope faded and surrender became inevitable. Finally, on the 40th day of the siege, Baghdad's walls gave way and collapsed. The Mongol army poured into the city and began looting. The streets were filled with blood and tears. Al-Mustasam Billah was captured in his palace and brought before Hulagu Khan. Hulagu Khan ordered Al-Mustasam Billah to surrender and renounce the caliphate. However, Al-Mustasam Billah swallowed his pride and refused to surrender. This brave attitude enraged Hulagu Khan. Hulagu Khan ordered the execution of Al-Mustasam Billah and his sons. With the death of Al-Mustasam Billah, the last official existence of the Abbasid Caliphate came to an end. Baghdad is razed to the ground by the Mongols and most of the city is destroyed. The fall of Baghdad, one of the most important centers of the Islamic world, causes great mourning and sorrow throughout the Islamic world. The reign of the Abbasid Caliphate, which lasted over 700 years, came to an end. This ancient empire left behind a rich heritage and cultural accumulation. But the brutality of the Mongols overshadowed this legacy, and the fall of Baghdad marked a turning point in Islamic history. Hulagu Khan's Western campaigns were a turning point in the history of the Middle East. As a result of these campaigns, the Abbasid Caliphate came to an end and Iran came under Mongol rule. Hulagu Khan's brutality and ruthlessness left a deep mark on the peoples of the region. In 1260, Mongol Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, was elected Great Khan at a Mongolian Congress. But Mongol Khan's reign did not last long. In 1264, Mongol Kagan died during a campaign in China. After Mongol Khan's death, the Mongol Empire entered a downward spiral and began to disintegrate rapidly. Genghis Khan's sons and grandsons established their own khanates in different parts of the empire and declared their independence. The most important of these khanates are the following. The Golden Horde Khanate was founded by the descendants of Genghis Khan's eldest son Juchi. It covered western Russia, Ukraine, the Caucasus, and Eastern Europe. Ekagatai Khanate founded by Mongol Te, son of Chagatai, the second son of Genghis Khan. It covered most of Central Asia. Ilkhanate Khanate founded by Hulagu, the grandson of Genghis Khan's third son Ogedei. It covered Iran, Iraq, and Turkey. Yuan Khanate it was founded by Kublai, the son of Genghis Khan's fourth son Tolui. It covered China. These four khanates often went to war with each other and completely disrupted the unity of the Mongol Empire. By the 14th century, there was no trace of the former power of the Mongol Empire, and its territories were completely fragmented. Dear viewers, we are in a period when the Mongol Empire is in the process of disintegration and different dynasties are trying to establish dominance. Today I will tell you about the rise of Kublai Khan, the founder of one of these dynasties, the Yuan dynasty, and the last great Khan of the Mongol Empire, and the birth of this new dynasty. Our story will take place in 1260 in the cold steppes of Mongolia. With the death of the great Khan Möngke Kagan, the Mongol Empire has been plunged into a struggle for the throne. Möngke's brothers and sons are fighting each other for the throne. One of the most important actors in these struggles is Kublai Khan, the son of Möngke's brother Tolui. Kublai Khan is an intelligent, ambitious, and determined leader. He also admired Chinese culture and traditions. Kublai Khan fights fiercely with his uncles and cousins for the throne. Kublai Khan is not alone in this struggle. He is accompanied by a loyal army and skilled advisors. Kublai Khan marches into China with his army and captures many cities. Defeating his rivals one by one, he took control of the western part of the Mongol Empire. In 1260, Kublai Khan is elected Great Khan at the Mongol Congress. With this victory, Kublai Khan decided to establish a new dynasty. He named this dynasty the Yuan dynasty. Yuan dynasty means Great Khan dynasty. Kublai Khan chose Beijing as the capital of the Yuan dynasty. The city of Beijing was rebuilt by Kublai Khan and turned into a magnificent capital. Kublai Khan embraced Chinese culture and customs and appointed Chinese bureaucrats to important positions in the Yuan dynasty. During Kublai Khan's reign, the Yuan dynasty achieved great power and prosperity. Trade routes revived and art and science flourished. Kublai Khan also allowed European travelers such as Marco Polo to come to China. This led to an important cultural exchange between the Yuan dynasty in the East and West. Dear viewers, we have reached the most exciting and critical stage of the last great Khan of the Mongol Empire, Kublai Khan's struggle to conquer China and gather it under a single rule. Today I will tell you in detail about Kublai Khan's great campaign against the southern Song dynasty and how he conquered all of China as a result of this campaign. Our story begins in 1268, when Kublai Khan declared war against the southern Song dynasty. At that time, the Yuan dynasty controlled most of northern China, but the southern Song dynasty is still putting up a strong resistance in southern China. Kublai Khan traveled to South China to personally lead this campaign. He is accompanied by a powerful army of skilled generals and a huge fleet. Using overseas troops, the Yuan armies began to attack southern Song territory by sea and land. The southern Song dynasty put up a heroic resistance against the Yuan armies. but the Yuan armies were vastly superior in numbers and weapons. The Song armies found it difficult to withstand the Mongols' mounted archers and siege engines. After long and bloody battles, one by one, the cities of the southern Song dynasty were captured by the Yuan armies. The Yuan armies besieged important Song cities, such as Xianyang, Yizhou, and Wuchang, and captured them after a long siege. The advance of the Yuan armies became unstoppable. By 1271, the Yuan armies approached Hangzhou, the capital of the southern Song dynasty. Hangzhou was one of the richest and most beautiful cities in the world at that time. The city had great historical and cultural value. Yuan armies besieged the city and tried to capture Hangzhou for a long time. The Song armies made a great effort to defend the city, but the Yuan armies managed to break the defense by attacking the city from the sea. Finally, Hangzhou was also captured by the Yuan armies, and the last emperor of the southern Song dynasty surrendered. With the fall of the southern Song dynasty, the Yuan dynasty conquered all of China and unified it under a single rule. With this victory, Kublai Khan became one of the most powerful emperors in China. The southern expedition of the Yuan dynasty is an important turning point in Chinese history. As a result of this campaign, the long-standing division of China came to an end. However, the Yuan dynasty's rule was not well received by the Chinese people. The Yuan dynasty's non-Chinese origin and lack of respect for Chinese culture and traditions led to discontent among the people. Dear viewers, are you ready to conclude the story of Kublai Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, the founder of the Mongol Empire and the founder of the Yuan dynasty? Today I will tell you the exciting events of Kublai Khan's proclamation as the Great Khan in 1279 and the rise of the Mongol Empire to its most powerful point. Our story begins in 1279, when Kublai Khan was proclaimed Great Khan at a Mongolian Congress. At that time, Kublai Khan was the most powerful leader, not only of the Yuan dynasty, but also of the divided Mongol Empire. At this Kurultai, Kublai Khan pledges to restore the unity of the Mongol Empire and keep the legacy of Genghis Khan alive. Kublai Khan's election as Grand Khan is a turning point for the Mongol Empire. With this election, the Mongols were united under a single leader for the first time since the death of Genghis Khan. Under Kublai Khan's leadership, the Mongol Empire reached its strongest and largest point in its history. Kublai Khan's empire covered a vast geography stretching from Eastern Europe to the Pacific Ocean. This geography was inhabited by many people speaking different languages and cultures. Kublai Khan established a new system of governance to rule these different peoples fairly and peacefully. In this administrative system, Chinese bureaucrats also took important roles. Kublai Khan was also a great patron of art and science. He patronized many artists and scientists in his court. During this period, there was a great development in art and science in China. Kublai Khan's palace became one of the most important cultural centers in the world. During Kublai Khan's reign, the Mongol Empire lived in peace and prosperity. Trade routes revitalized, cities flourished, and people prospered. Kublai Khan also allowed European travelers such as Marco Polo to come to China. This led to an important cultural exchange between the Mongol Empire and East and West. Kublai Khan died in 1294. After his death, the The Mongol Empire began to fight for the throne, and the empire slowly began to disintegrate. But Kublai Khan's legacy is still alive. Kublai Khan has an important place in Chinese history and is considered one of the most important rulers of the Mongol Empire. Dear viewers, we continue the story of Kublai Khan, one of the most powerful rulers of the Mongol Empire. Today, I will tell you about Kublai Khan's campaigns to conquer Japan and the unexpected failure of these campaigns. Our story begins in 1281, when Kublai Khan made plans to conquer Japan. Kublai Khan coveted Japan's riches and strategic position. He is also angered by Japan's refusal to submit to the Mongol Empire. Kublai Khan prepares a huge army and fleet to conquer Japan. This army is one of the largest in Mongol history. In 1281, this army of Mongol and Korean troops set out for Japan. In the first phase, the Mongol armies successfully landed on the southern coast of Japan. The Japanese armies put up a great resistance against the Mongols. However, the Mongol armies were far superior to the Japanese armies in terms of numbers and weapons. The Mongol armies captured Japanese cities one by one. However, the advance of the Mongol armies encountered an unexpected obstacle. In 1281, a great storm broke out off the southern coast of Japan. This storm caused great damage to the Mongol fleet, and many ships sank. When the Mongolian army's support from the sea was cut off, it became difficult for them to advance in Japan. The Japanese armies seized this opportunity and launched a counterattack against the Mongol armies. The Mongol armies began to struggle against the heroic resistance of the Japanese and the difficult geographical conditions. After long and bloody battles, the Mongol armies were forced to retreat from Japan. In 1286, the Mongol armies withdrew completely from Japan. Kublai Khan's plans to conquer Japan ended in failure. This defeat was a major blow to the prestige of the Mongol Empire. It also shattered the myth of Mongol invincibility. The Mongol expedition to Japan is an important turning point in world history. It showed the limits of the Mongol Empire's power and invincibility. It also played an important role in building Japan's national identity and strengthening its national consciousness. Dear viewers, we have completed the story of Kublai Khan, one of the most powerful rulers of the Mongol Empire. Today we will discuss the decline of the Yuan dynasty after the death of Kublai Khan and the disintegration of the Mongol Empire. The death of Kublai Khan in 1294 marked a turning point for the Yuan dynasty. With the death of this powerful and brilliant leader, the empire slowly began to crumble. The emperors who succeeded Kublai Khan were not as skillful and charismatic as he was. This weakness of leadership led to political instability and throne struggles in the empire. Economic and social problems also contributed to the decline of the Yuan dynasty. The Mongols were not very experienced in managing the Chinese economy. Therefore, after the death of Kublai Khan, the Yuan dynasty experienced economic problems. There were also cultural and social differences between the Mongols and the Chinese. These differences led to discontent and social tensions in the empire. External threats also challenged the Yuan dynasty. Countries such as Japan and Vietnam launched attacks against the Yuan dynasty. These attacks weakened the empire and depleted its military resources. All these problems combined to cause a rapid decline in the Yuan dynasty. In the late 14th century, the Yuan dynasty's reign came to an end with the establishment of the Han dynasty. The Han dynasty became the new rulers of China. With the fall of the Yuan dynasty, the Mongol Empire also disintegrated. By the end of the 14th century, the Mongols disappeared from the stage of history. Once one of the largest and most powerful empires in the world, the Mongol Empire was destroyed by internal strife, economic problems, and external threats. The story of the Mongol Empire shows us that no matter how powerful an empire is, it is not immune to weakness. What happened in the Yuan dynasty after the death of Kublai Khan shows us how leadership weakness and instability can bring down an empire. The story of the Mongol Empire reminds us that we must learn from history and be prepared for future threats. Dear viewers, we continue the story of the Mongol Empire. Now we will look at the conquests and campaigns of the Yuan dynasty in South Asia in the late 13th century. Our story begins in 1299, when the Yuan dynasty launched a campaign against the Ghaznavid Empire. At that time, the Ghaznavid Empire was a powerful state covering the northern regions of Afghanistan and Pakistan. The Mongols coveted the wealth and strategic position of the Ghaznavid Empire. The Mongol armies launched a swift and violent attack against the Ghaznavid Empire. Ghaznavid armies showed great resistance against the Mongols. However, the Mongol armies were far superior to the Ghaznavid armies in terms of numbers and weapons. As a result of long and bloody battles, Ghazni, the capital of the Ghaznavid Empire, was captured by the Mongols. In 1304, the Mongols conquered the Ghaznavid Empire and started to organize campaigns against India. Mongol armies quickly conquered North India. Delhi, the capital of the Delhi Sultanate, was also besieged by the Mongols. However, it was not easy for the Mongols to capture Delhi. The armies of the Delhi Sultanate put up a heroic resistance against the Mongols. After a long siege, the Mongols failed to capture Delhi and had to retreat. The Mongol campaigns in India, despite some successes, ultimately ended in failure. The Mongols failed to conquer all of India and were forced to retreat in the face of resistance from other Muslim states in the region. The Mongol campaigns in India significantly affected the political and historical balance of South Asia. The failure of the Mongols led to the strengthening of other states in the region and undermined the prestige of the Mongol Empire. Dear viewers, we continue to dive into the story of the Ilkhanid state, one of the branches of the Mongol Empire. Today we will examine the events that brought the end of the Ilkhanid state in 1309. Founded in the 13th century, the Ilkhanid state ruled over a vast geography covering Anatolia, Iran, Iraq, and the Caucasus. Having a strong army and a large economy, the Ilkhanid state was one of the most important political powers in the Middle East at that time. However, by the 14th century, some problems began to emerge in the Ilkhanid state. These problems descended on the empire like a dark cloud. Economic problems, political instability, social unrest, and external threats began to shake the foundations of the Ilkhanid Empire. From an economic point of view, the Ilkhanid Empire entered a period of decline caused by excessive taxation, drought, and wars. People were driven into poverty, trade routes were closed, and the empire's finances collapsed. Politically, throne disputes and rebellions spread like a virus in the Ilkhanid Empire. Strong leaders were replaced by weak and incompetent rulers. This political instability weakened the empire and damaged the sense of unity. Socially, tensions between different ethnic and religious groups increased in the Ilkhanid Empire. There were conflicts between nomadic people who adhered to Mongol traditions and settled people. Moreover, intolerance and discrimination between different religions increased. This led to social unrest and turmoil in the empire. External threats also played an important role in the collapse of the Ilkhanid Empire. Powerful neighbors such as the Mamluk state and Tamerlane organized attacks against the Ilkhanid Empire. These attacks exhausted and weakened the empire. When all these problems came together, the Ilkhanid Empire began a process of rapid decline. In 1309, the last ruler of the Ilkhanid Empire, Genghis Khan, was defeated and killed in a war with the Mamluks. After the death of Genghis Khan, the Ilkhanid state disintegrated and many small states emerged. The collapse of the Ilkhanid Empire significantly affected the political balance in the Middle East. In place of the Ilkhanid Empire, new powers emerged, such as the Timurid Empire. The rise of these new powers led to a new political order in the Middle East. Dear viewers, we continue the story of the Golden Horde, another important branch of the Mongol Empire. As we have told you, in the 14th century, the Golden Horde was facing many problems such as economic decline, political instability, social problems, and external threats. These problems plunged the empire into a process of collapse. The assassination of the Golden Horde ruler Canabek Khan in 1335 and the death of its greatest Khan Ozbeg Khan in 1353 led to the outbreak of internal conflicts in the empire and its eventual disintegration. The disintegration of the Golden Horde signaled the last gasps of an empire and the rise of new powers. After this disintegration, many small khanates emerged. Each of them began to rule independently in its own territory. The Khanate of Kazan, founded around the Volga River, existed until 1552. In 1552, it was captured by the Russian Tsardom and disappeared. Astrakhan Khanate established in the north of the Caspian Sea. The Astrakhan Khanate was annexed by the Russian Tsardom in 1556. Crimean Khanate established on the Crimean Peninsula. The Khanate of Crimea was annexed by the Russian Empire in 1783. Sibir Khanate, the Siberian Khanate, established in Siberia, was captured by the Russians in the 16th century. Each of these khanates continued the legacy of the Golden Horde in different ways. While some adhered to Mongolian traditions, others interacted with different cultures and formed their own identities. The disintegration of the Golden Horde had a significant impact on the political balance in Eastern Europe and North Asia. In place of the Golden Horde, new powers emerged, such as Russia and the Ottoman Empire. The rise of these new powers led to a new political order in the region. Dear viewers, we continue to analyze the Black Plague, one of the greatest disasters the Mongol Empire suffered in the 14th century. This deadly epidemic was a nightmare that affected not only the Mongols but the whole world and took the lives of millions of people. Entering Europe in 1340, the Black Plague spread rapidly and reached Mongolian lands in 1341. The vast geography and busy trade routes of the Mongol Empire contributed to the rapid spread of the epidemic. Despite being a hygiene-conscious people, the Mongols were unable to resist the Black Plague. The epidemic hit the empire's largest cities and towns. The streets were littered with the dead and the survivors, paralyzed with terror and fear, desperately called for help. The impact of the Black Plague on the Mongol Empire was devastating. A large part of the population, perhaps half, died from the epidemic. This weakened the empire's economy, military and administrative system. Effects of population loss. Economic weakening. Population loss negatively affected basic economic activities such as agriculture and trade. This led to famines and economic stagnation in the empire. Military weakening. Most of the soldiers in the army died due to the pandemic. This weakened the empire's defense power and made it more vulnerable to external threats. Collapse of the administrative system. The epidemic also negatively affected the administrative system of the empire. Many civil servants and bureaucrats lost their lives due to the pandemic. This made the administration of the empire difficult and led to chaos. The role of the Black Plague in the collapse of the Mongol Empire. The Black Plague played an important role in the collapse of the Mongol Empire. Factors such as population loss, economic weakening, military weakening, and the collapse of the administrative system led to the rapid collapse of the empire. The impact of the Black Plague on the Mongol Empire was not limited to population loss. The epidemic also left deep scars on Mongol society. Many people were frightened and traumatized by the epidemic. This led to changes in Mongolian culture and belief systems. Although the Black Plague was not the only factor that brought about the end of the Mongol Empire, its role in the collapse of the empire cannot be ignored. The Black Plague caused massive destruction and change in the vast geography where the Mongols had ruled for centuries. In 1368, after centuries of rule, the Yuan dynasty was expelled from China, marking the end of the Mongol Empire. At the beginning of the 13th century, the Mongols, led by Genghis Khan, conquered China and established the Yuan dynasty. This dynasty ruled China for centuries according to Mongol traditions and rules. But over time, discontent grew under the Yuan dynasty. The dynasty's harsh policies and high taxes imposed on the Chinese people led to rebellions. In 1368, the Han dynasty was established under the leadership of the Mongol Emperor, and the Yuan dynasty was expelled from China. This marked the end of the Mongol Empire's rule in China. The expulsion of the Yuan dynasty from China was a turning point for the Mongol Empire. It significantly weakened the empire's power and reputation. There were many reasons for the collapse of the Mongol Empire. The most important of these are the following. Economic weakening. The Mongol Empire entered a period of economic decline in the 14th century. The causes of this decline included excessive taxation, drought, and wars. Political instability. The Mongol Empire experienced throne fights and rebellions in the 14th century. This political instability weakened the empire. Social problems. There were tensions between different ethnic and religious groups in the Mongol Empire. There were conflicts between nomadic people who adhered to Mongol traditions and settled people. In addition, intolerance and discrimination between different religions increased. This led to social unrest and turmoil in the empire. External threats. In the 14th century, the Mongol Empire was subjected to attacks from outside powers such as the Principality of Moscow and the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. These attacks exhausted and weakened the empire. Black Plague, the Black Plague, which entered the Mongol Empire in 1340, caused the death of a large part of the population. This weakened the empire's economy, military and administrative system. The expulsion of the Yuan dynasty from China was one of the events that brought the end of the Mongol Empire. After this event, the Mongol Empire disintegrated and many small khanates emerged. The most important of these khanates were the Khanate of Kazan, the Khanate of Astrakhan, the Khanate of Crimea, and the Khanate of Siberia. The collapse of the Mongol Empire had a significant impact on the political balance in Eastern Europe and North Asia. In place of the Mongol Empire, new powers emerged, such as Russia and the Ottoman Empire. The rise of these new powers led to a new political order in the region. Dear viewers, together we have completed the exciting and sad story of the Mongol Empire. Throughout this saga, we have witnessed many important events, from the conquests of Genghis Khan to the disintegration of the Mongol Empire. I hope these stories have inspired you to learn more about the Mongols and understand the empire's significant impact on world history. It has been a great pleasure for me to share these stories with you and help you discover the mysterious world of the Mongol Empire. If you like my stories, please don't forget to like and comment on my videos. This will help my stories reach more people and help more people learn the fascinating story of the Mongols. Also, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to let me know. I am always open to your feedback and would be happy to help you learn more about the Mongol Empire. See you on our next historical adventure.